In a story that just broke this morning, CoinDesk's Andreas Angler says the nation of Colombia is talking about launching a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, with the specific aim of combating tax evasion. The nation, which had the distinction of being the top producer of the key component of cocaine for many years, is somewhat notorious for corruption and cartel-led organized crime. All of that adds up to not much respect for the rule of law and thus low compliance when it comes to paying your taxes. Now, there's a little bit of an obvious angle to this story, which I'm happy to talk about, which is that eliminating cash creates a better net for the government to sort of scoop up money in and be aware of what's going on, but that also, especially in areas where you have a lot of corruption, a lot of crime, can create problems. But the reason why I was attracted to this story, honestly, was because of a hypothetical scenario that popped into my head while I was reading this, which is like, what if we had a government that was actually trusted, actually effective, and that didn't appear to use any power that it was given, in ways that were detrimental to the citizens? In this type of situation, I actually think there is an argument for a central bank digital currency to be used for tax compliance, not just because it would give them oversight, but because you could automate it in a way that makes compliance so painful today. So, Zach, I'll go to you first on this one. We can talk about this from kind of either angle, but what's your take on it?
Yeah, CBDCs, they continue to be this attractive, maybe for the wrong reasons, financial tool for governments the world over, right? Tax compliance, yeah, do your taxes, be compliant with taxes, but also sort of, again, have trust in your citizenry to be able to do that by implementing sort of a technical solution that introduces an additional degree of financial surveillance into these national economies. Definitely seems weird, right? We've heard China with their experiments around CBDC say, hey, we can airdrop money, and if you don't spend it by a certain amount of time, that goes away, right? It gives us a little bit of power, a little bit of ability to shape the economy as we see fit, maybe for the benefit of the citizenry, but also it introduces this sort of dystopian overtones of government-controlled cash to an extent that hadn't previously been imagined, right? That's what these ledgers produce, the ability to control cash flows in a way that hadn't previously been possible. So it's going to be really interesting. And we've seen a lot of noise around, especially out of the EU, right, around privacy concerns around CBDCs as these various central banks explore this stuff. And we're going to see different governments implement different visions of what a CBDC can be as it relates to how private it is, how not private it is, how controllable it is, how not controllable it is by those who are pulling the economic levers at various central banks. I'll toss it to Jen, though, for her thoughts.
Yeah, Zach, I went in the same direction as you, and I imagined the world that this could potentially enable. So I just think it's really worrying, right? We start with tax evasion, and then what's next? Preventing crime and money laundering. We've heard that kind of all across the world. And so while it may be useful in Colombia, I think it could prove out a use case that other countries might think, we could use this for a different use case, and it might set a dangerous precedent. I know, Adam, you brought up the corruption and cartels in Colombia. Imagine a world where maybe a family member of yours is a high-ranking cartel member and you all of a sudden can't spend the money that's in your bank account. I know that sounds crazy, but it only sounds crazy until it happens. And so I just think it's a really dangerous and worrying precedent to set. I was reading an article published by Reuters, and it did say that tax evasion cost the country $17.6 billion. So I understand that this is something that they would like to address. In that same article, they said the incoming president-elect said that evasion would be punished with prison sentences. I also wonder, if we have CBDCs, we can track tax evasion. Now it's become all of a sudden punishable by prison sentences. Can the prison system there handle this? It just sounds like a disaster. Wendy, passing it, or Zach, off to you.
Zach, you take it. I'll close it because I got a hot topic, or I got a hot thought.
I'll do a tepid take, and you do the hot take. So my tepid take is like, crime and money laundering is bad, but it's sort of like the unsavory stuff that is otherwise legal, or the stuff that is financed by political parties that the ruling party does not like. Stuff like that where these censorship concerns become quite scary, right? Become really a tool for authoritarianism in whether it's Colombia, China, the US even, right? The ability to stifle things that aren't illegal but are unsavory and disliked by those who are in power is something that I think is potentially scary for what CBDCs can ultimately end up accomplishing. But that was a tepid take, so I'm going to toss it to Wendy for the spicy stuff.
I want to play devil's advocate here. And I know this is a very unpopular take, but a lot of the people that are participating in these illicit activities and contributing and growing and facilitating all of the bad stuff, that's actually a viable economy for them. That's how they make money. So when you take that ability for them to make money, I'm not saying I support it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying I don't know how it's going to go over with that economy. And on top of it, there's a lot of political leaders that are taking kickbacks. A thing that does scare me about a CBDC, I would love the fact to where all of my spending can be tracked and I don't have to hire a CPA to do my taxes and pay tens of thousands of dollars to do it, because it's an absolute ridiculous process, especially in the United States. But then at the same time, if I allow that to happen, I lose my privacy. And in addition, it's going to be very interesting to see how these government entities are going to deal with their spending not being transparent anymore, because you cannot track what the citizens are doing and not track what the government officials are doing.
When streaming tax payments, let's get it going, IRS. We need to get you on a blockchain.